How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give him a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from last night, which was October 11th, 2022. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was Lance Archer versus Alec Odin. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Lance Archer went over with the blackout. Match 2, it was Serena Deeb, Jamie Hayter, and Penelope Ford versus Trish Adora, Brittany Blake, and Jordan Blade. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Serena Deeb, Jamie Hayter, and Penelope Ford went over cause Serena Deeb made Trish Adora tap out to the Serenity Lock. Match 3, it was Hikaru Shida versus Marina Shafir. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Hikaru Shida went over with the katana. Match 4, it was Brian Cage versus Papadon. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Brian Cage went over with the drill claw. Match 5, it was Athena versus Gia Scott. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Athena went over with the Swan Dive Cutter. Match 6, it was QT Marshall versus Action Andretti. That was a great match, but the ending to it, QT Marshall went over with the Diamond Cutter. Now, before the match, as Action Andretti was already out in the ring, the Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and Cole Carter, came out to the ring, and QT Marshall got on the microphone and talked about how QT Marshall QT Marshall was asking Action Andretti what his name was, and Action Andretti said, "Who am I?" QT Marshall said, "Are you deaf? I said, what's your name?" Action Andretti said, "I am the sight to see Action Andretti," and everything. And then QT Marshall was QT Marshall was egging the crowd on to cheer for Action Andretti, and so they did. And then QT Marshall told Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and Cole Carter to go backstage because he wanted to face Action Andretti one-on-one. So the rest of the Factory, which are Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and Cole Carter, ended up going backstage before the match started and everything. That was cool. Match 7, it was Dalton Castle and the Boys, which are Brandon and Brent Tate, versus Josh Fuller, Joe Keys, and BK Klein. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Dalton Castle and the Boys went over cause Dalton Castle pinned Josh Fuller with the Bangarang. Match 8, it was Kip Sabian versus Brandon Cutler. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Kip Sabian went over with the Anarchist Suplex. Match 9, it was Toni Storm versus Emi Sakura in an interim AEW Women's Title Eliminator match. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Toni Storm went over with the Storm Zero, and match 10, which was the main event, it was Matt Sydal and Dante Martin versus The Factory, which are Aaron Solo and match 10, which was the main event, it was Matt Sydal and Dante Martin versus The Factory, which are Aaron Solo and Cole Carter. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Matt Sydal and Dante Martin went over cause Dante Martin pinned Aaron Solo with the nosedive. That was match 10. That was match 10 and the main event, by the way. Now, besides the matches, Dasha Gonzalez, Vicky Guerrero, Daniel Garcia, and Eddie Kingston cut promos about Hispanic History Month and how their descent of Hispanic and Spanish and everything. That was cool. Zach Clayton cut a promo talking about how he signed with AEW and how he's gonna be successful in AEW and how everyone's gonna respect him in AEW and everything. That was cool. And Action Andretti cut a promo talking about how he went to war with QT Marshall tonight on AEW Dark and talked about how the crowd was behind him and how he appreciated it and how he lost, but next time he was going to come back better than ever and everything. That was cool. Now, besides all that, Taz and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. The referees for the event were Mike Posey, Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, Stephon Smith, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Stephon Smith refereed the match between Lance Archer versus Alec Odin. Mike Posey refereed the match between Serena Deeb, Jamie Hayter, and Penelope Ford versus Trish Adora, Brittany Blake, and Jordan Blade. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Hikaru Shida versus Marina Shafir. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Brian Cage versus Papadon. Rick Knox refereed the match between Athena versus Gia Scott. Paul Turner refereed the match between QT Marshall versus Action Andretti. Rick Knox refereed the match between Dalton Castle and the Boys versus Josh Fuller, Joe Keys, and BK Klein. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Kip Sabian versus Brandon Cutler. Stephon Smith refereed the match between Tony Storm versus Emi Sakura in an interim AEW Women's Title Eliminator match. And Mike Posey refereed the match between Matt Sydal and Dante Martin versus The Factory. All the referees done awesome as usual. And the match card for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite tonight, it's going to be Pac versus Orange Cassidy, and the match card for and the match card for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite tonight, it's going to be Pac versus Orange Cassidy for the AEW All-Atlantic title, Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson for the Ring of Honor World title. Billy Gunn versus Swerve Strickland. Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus. And Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm. So the match card for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite tonight looks like it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it, and I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give my review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from last night, which was October 11th, 2022. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road. Peace out.